Okay, well, it's episode 9 of the Reformed Film Lab podcast, where we discuss all things film, cameras, and the analog life. I am joined by...
Bree. That's me.
There we go. Today's topic is...
Just Bree.
Just Bree. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. We're also joined by...
Ava.
And...
John.
And...
Bree.
There we go. Today's topic is all things film. We're titling it How to Choose the Right Film Stock. So we're going to be discussing how we as a staff go about choosing films, our methodology, different environments, just our general mindset on it, I think. We're going to get into consumer versus pro films and if pro films are worth the price. Maybe some hot takes there. And we're also going to go over the different types of film because we develop slide, color negative, and black and white. But before we do that... Who wants to go first for what we have on the table? Because the table's loaded today.
Crowded. I'll go.
What do you got, Bree?
We have the new Street Candy Street Savvy.
Call the street sad, black and white dream. Fake films, magic, we're caught in the scenes.
We shot that a few days ago, and it's compared to Ultramax and Portra, like in between. So we tested that theory out, and I think we all pretty much liked it. I like the colors of it. The reds were beautiful. Mm-hmm. I would definitely shoot it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you two went out and shot it. I think that was our general observation about the film is that it just popped in the reds. You know, certain films are known for maybe certain colors, but this one in particular just had really good red tones, and it worked well for portraits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I was really happy with my portraits.
I liked mine.
In the parking garage were my favorite.
Oh, yeah, those were
really cool.
Those were really nice.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, it's on YouTube. We did a review on it. It's live at this point, but you were rocking the 85 1.2 lens.
Yes, it was a very pretty lens. Very nice. I miss it. I can go get it again, though. I was renting it, so it's not mine, but...
Yeah, you have the nice hookup at the college that you go to.
I do.
What's your rental rates there for lenses? It was like ridiculously low.
It's like $8 for the week. I think the
Daytona State one was like $5.
It's all the same, but I think the one with that was I think the highest quality one. Okay. So the lower, not
that makes
lower
sense.
qualities, but
the other ones.
Yeah, some of the other ones are $5 for a week.
Yeah, because you've rented. Well, that 85, because we were talking about that, like there's, companies that rent lenses out, like Lens Rentals and Borrow Lenses and a few like big names. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know, like $1,000 lens to rent it for a week would cost you a fair amount.
It was, yeah, I did that over the summer because I wasn't enrolled in any classes. And it was, no, I don't want to say absurd because that was probably just a standard price. But compared to what I have paid, it was crazy.
Yeah, $1 a day versus...
Was... 93. 93 in total. I think overall for shipping it was over 100.
For how long?
I don't even know if I had it a week. Maybe 5 days.
And the school was $8. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So perks of being in college.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am paying tuition. So.
Tuition. so maybe that's where the money is really.
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
how the lenses are subsidized is that tuition.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a great new film. Which in some respects has kind of spurred this podcast today. So the differences between consumer and pro films, we'll get into it, but we're kind of told from Flick Film that this kind of lies somewhere in between. Do you think that's true after we've seen the images?
I think so.
I think the colors are different compared to either of those. So I don't know if it's even...
It's its own category?
I think, yeah. I mean, maybe quality-wise, I could see that when we're talking like grain amount.
I think quality-wise, it's worth what you pay for. I think it's really worth it, actually. The colors are very different, though. So that was something, if you're like, which we'll get into later, but if you're wanting to shoot it for a specific purpose, you might want to look at more closely, but for the price, it's a really great film.
I would say, with the Ultramax and the Portra, it's pretty neutral. I wouldn't say it's not, vibrant, but the Street Savvy just has a different vibrance to it that makes it stand out more.
Yeah, because we did 1-to-1 shots comparing it to Ultramax because I kind of feel like, if you're going to buy Kodak Portra, you're going to spend the extra money for it. That, okay, this is the best of the best that I'm getting. Mm-hmm. So then if I'm going to shoot Street Savvy versus Ultramax and pay the little bit more, what sort of difference am I getting? And I think that's where those one-to-one shots in that review were pretty helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have the Fuji 100 film from Japan.
The mystery film.
The mystery film. We did a video on it. I don't know if it's out yet in terms of when this podcast is going live. But for me, speaking of tones, this film had killer red tones.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous. You saw the images that you and Hope shot.
Yeah, the reds were insane.
Pretty wild. The only problem with this film is that it's $25 a roll. Mm-hmm. So you could get literally a pack of Fuji 200 3-pack for cheaper than one roll here. But it's truly Japan-made film, and we know that the 200, the 400 are made in the States now.
Yeah.
So the last of the last. I don't know if this is like the last batch, but if you really want to try it, we have it on the lab store. We have a lot right now. So that's what I brought to the table today. John, you want to talk about your new toy?
Yes.
All right, go for it.
Show you guys it.
You gonna take it out?
Take it
I'm
out.
just gonna show the camera. It is a new gimbal for our YouTube videos. Oh, it is. I'm really excited to try shooting with this. Mike and I are messing around with it today, but it's just a new gimbal for a nicer camera. We've been using the pocket cameras, or the pocket camera for all of our YouTube, and it looks great. But we got some higher quality Sonys that we're actually using for this podcast that we're gonna put on here and hopefully get some better YouTube videos. But I'm excited to shoot on it. It's super cool.
Yeah. The DJI pocket camera is really nice. I think most of what we've shot for YouTube has been on that, but we needed some other cameras for the podcast, and so we're gonna more or less give those a try. But we need a gimbal because we don't want shaky footage.
Exactly.
We've had some shaky footage before in some videos, so I think people have commented on it.
We're excited for the gimbal.
All right, Ava, your turn.
We have the Lucky Film that we also got in that we did a review video on. You go watch that.
It's very film heavy day.
Yes, it
We're on a film
is.
podcast.
Those are really nice. If you watch the video, we talk a lot more about it, but they're pretty nice. I think I preferred the 100 though. That I think Bree shot, and then I shot the 400. But we also have Dunkin' Muffins.
Yay.
Yeah, that was very much last minute. Like, hey, we need to start the podcast in 20 minutes. Can I go to Dunkin'? I'm like, yeah, go fast.
Brain food.
Brain food.
Exactly.
All right, well, let's just jump into the main topic today. How do you choose the right film? Which begs the question, is there the right film to choose?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
For sure.
Well, how do you guys choose your own personal films? I mean, we have over 200 films on the website. It seems like, what's on the table today, more and more films are coming out every month or two. It feels like we're doing a new video with a new film. I mean, literally Street Savvy. We're told by Flick Film, Street Savvy is a true new C41 film. It's not a repackaged cinema film. It's its own unique emulsion you can't find anywhere. So what sort of methodologies or ways?
College professionals?
Yeah, our college grads.
I mean, I would just say it depends on what you're shooting. That, I don't know, I start with that, and then I start with what do I want them to turn out as, or I'll do the opposite. If I really want to shoot a certain type of film, then I'll be like, okay, what do I want to shoot this film doing? Like, I'm not going to pick a turquoise, monochrome turquoise, and shoot people with it, or shoot a wedding with that.
Some people do.
I don't think I'd
Somebody came in the other day and said that he does all the time, and they look like zombies.
No, the guy, we had a customer come in. He's vacationing down here, which is kind of cool. We get a lot of people who vacation in like Orlando, Florida, and they swing over and see us because they live in, all over the U.S. And he came and he showed me this photo shoot he did with this woman on the beach, and he's showing me all his nice photos. And he's like, oh, I shot Lomo turquoise. And he flicks it over to the image, and she looked like a zombie. I mean, the photo was cool, but yeah, he liked it.
Yeah, we told him, we said we
it.
don't like it. And he was like, I love it. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But the turquoise in particular, kind of zombifies people.
Well, we saw a wedding on it, and we were like,
Oh,
why would
there
you shoot a wedding?
There was
That's
a wedding
horrible.
one time where it was like 5 or 6 rolls of just the most random films. Like it was like Wolfen,
Must be what they like, but
turquoise, and like a few Konos, and it was just like, why
A
Not
break
it.
from
a
all the
wedding?
Portra.
that's a good excuse or a good reason for why you should choose your film for what you're shooting and know what you're shooting first and then choose your film. Don't pick random films.
Yeah.
And also there's two ways I look at it. Either I say, I know what I'm going to shoot, so I'm going to pick my film according, or I know what film I want to shoot, and I'm going to pick my subject according. So on either
Yeah.
end, I'm picking.
That was a way faster way to say
I'm not
what I
just
said.
taking film and shooting
Screwed.
whatever. So like if I'm going to shoot at like nighttime photo shoot, I'm going to use like 800T or an 800 speed film. I'm shooting in the daytime, I'm going to shoot a daylight speed film. So it just depends based on
He
whatever
shoots
your
gold.
subject is.
Yeah, I mean, like you said the other day, you're going to like a local fair, carnival type thing at night. And what are you shooting?
800T.
What a
I
surprise.
recently went. I went on Saturday and I also shot 800T.
You
At like
did.
a carnival?
Yeah.
The same
same
day.
one, yeah.
I think I saw your photos on Instagram. You had a little story and had a few. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was my first time shooting 800T.
Your first
What?
time?
Yeah.
I know,
Ava's
that's what
shaking
she
her
said
head.
to me.
That's crazy.
So, what were your thoughts on it?
I liked it. It was nice. I would shoot it again.
It looks
Sure.
really good at the fair.
Approved.
Like 800T always looks good at a fair or carnival setting.
Anything with lights like
Because
that.
the blue tones just hit with the light, and you have the red halos. It just looks great.
Yeah, the halation
great
effect
film.
on the cinema film with that rimjet removed. I think I don't know. It definitely because you can go shoot portrait at 800, a higher speed film, but when you shoot cinestill, or there's some other cinema films out there that halation effect is really nice. Yeah. So you guys basically think about what you're going to go shoot and say what corresponding film stocks do I want given the environment.
I
Yeah.
think the first thing that I think of is what speed do I want?
Okay.
Thinking
That's
back,
important.
Yeah.
That's important. Yeah.
So like for the carnival or fair or whatever it was, I knew that it was going to be dark and I needed something with a high speed. So 800. And then, I'll do that accordingly. If I'm shooting in bright lights, I'm going to shoot something 100 speed. 400, I will always put in my point and shoot. I never put anything else in my point and shoot because that's what it meters for. So I've heard.
What
and that's
point
what
and
I
shoot
think.
do you use? What point and shoot do you use?
I have like 4.
Oh. You and Ava are the camera collectors of the lab.
Yeah. I have a small Pentax one. I think it's called like a Pentax IQ Zoom.
Bree owning a
Fuji.
Pentax? What the heck? This is a novelty.
I own a Fuji.
She has like 3 Pentax 17s. You didn't know that?
Since when have you been converted?
Honestly,
What?
Pentax as a brand though has good cameras,
Yeah.
but that's another point.
That one.
Oh yeah, there's so many iconic cameras.
Just not the 17.
Jonathan DeHate said he's going to bring his 6x7 for you to check out tomorrow.
Oh,
he
yeah?
messaged me
That's
about that,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so
That's cool.
Jonathan, we love you. You're awesome.
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes, we do.
Jonathan.
Yeah. No, we did some prints for him today, and he's like, "Oh, I saw Bree's video on her 120 film. I'm going to bring my, I think it's a second Pentax 6x7 for you to check out tomorrow."
Yeah.
Nice.
So maybe we should do a part 2 of the 120
Me
video.
too. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that going back to what you were saying, that's a pretty good point that, given what you're going to shoot, you have to consider the ISO because you are stuck, shooting film. If you're new to shooting film, it's not like digital where you can change that ISO. So if I remember when I was in New Zealand, we were shooting outdoors and I think I had Kodak Ektar loaded 100 speed. Great. Especially kind of for being in the Shire. And they're like, oh, we're going to go inside a hobbit hole. And it was immediately like, nope, I have to change my film. So I ended the roll of Ektar early and I put in the Aurora 800 and that was fine. So, but that was when we went, I didn't know we were actually going to go inside. I thought it was a completely outside tour. Like, oh, we're going to go inside one. I'm like, oh, okay. Switching out the film very quickly. So the speed probably matters a lot in your consideration. At least it should.
But that'd be another tip if you're just getting into like doing shoots with film. Bring a couple different rolls of film because you never know if your conditions are going to change or if it's going to get cloudy. So I'd say if you're doing a shoot, I would almost bring 2 or 3 different speeds, like 100, 400, and 800, just in case. You never know. All your bases are covered. You're not going
That's a
to.
good point.
Or you could bring like 6.
You guys are.
But
Yeah, I'm gonna contradict
6 is-
that and
6
be
is on a
like,
light
you
day
can
for
just
you.
bring a 400 and then either push or pull it.
You can't.
We don't pull film.
We don't pull film.
We don't pull film. That's heresy.
I would say
Well-
with
Do you push your
Going
400
into-
film often? Sorry.
No, I don't, because I know what I'm gonna shoot. But like
okay.
key,
hypothetically,
hypothetically speaking,
It's not
Yeah.
that I would do it, but for you audience out there, yeah, just push your
You
film.
I think I
Fools.
would if that's all that I had. But
I've done that before. If I've had a roll of 400 in and I don't want to end it, I'll say, I'll put my ISO up to 100 and just push it to stop.
Yeah, I've had 400 speed have shot, and then I've started like halfway through the roll, started shooting it at 800, and then I'll just push the entire roll. So my 400 shots are getting a little kind of overexposed or overdeveloped, you could say. They're a little bit more contrasty, but then my 800 film is looking as it should, so to speak, on that 400 roll. I think that's a pretty viable option. Film has that flexibility to where I do, and 400 speed is the most popular film. Like I think if we survey
Right.
all our films and what we sell the most, it's always 400 speed.
Yeah, it's pretty much right in the middle of you can shoot it during the day and you can shoot it in some dark-ish areas.
Yeah, unless
Darkish.
Portra 1600 comes to the market.
With this new 1600 speed film, we're able to see what those nasty orcs are up to, and we know when they're going to attack next. Thank you, Kodak. Gondor is in your debt.
That's true.
Well, and I put a roll of Portrait 800 in one of my point and shoots because I was in a dark area, and I thought it's like this is going to be the best option, and it wasn't because I think the point and shoot that I was using is set to 400.
There's no changing it.
There's no changing it.
Yeah.
Regardless of DX coding or whatever.
Is this an older point and
DX
shoot from like the
coding.
80s, 90s?
Yeah.
Always with the DX coding.
Yeah. So, I shot the 800 and it wasn't right. It didn't look right.
Did you push it?
No, I didn't.
I wonder if you pushed it, would that be? I mean, I guess if you put any roll in there and it was dark and you pushed it, it would look better. But if you put an 800 roll in there and pushed it,
That's the 1600.
but then I'm trying to think about if that would work. I don't think so.
Math is hard for John.
Well, no, I'm thinking about if you put it in if you put an 800 speed film in a camera that thinks it's 400 and then pushed it, wouldn't it technically be at 800 then? Because the camera thinks so, it's underexposing it by a stop, but then you're pushing it back up to 800.
Yeah, if your film is more sensitive than what your camera thinks, your camera is going to give it more light than what's actually needed. So, but yeah, I mean, that is a good point. You know, oftentimes I think with people nowadays, I mean, sure, we have the Pentax 17, we have the new Raleigh.
Raleigh.
How do you say it?
I say
Raleigh.
Raleigh.
Yeah. People get really passionate about that.
They do.
I've heard,
Really?
I don't know. I've heard it both ways.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah, I think depending on the camera, we do see a variety of does it have DX coding, doesn't, etc. And, you know, if you're not paying attention, that could probably mess you up in some ways.
Yeah, I think paying attention to that, especially with the point and shoots like that you can't manually change it or set it at all, you definitely need to be mindful of what
demure.
it's set to.
Very
or
mindful.
Very demure.
There it is.
Very demure.
I mean, we're only 10 minutes in, 15 minutes. It
That
didn't
didn't
take
take
long.
very long.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to be mindful when you're shooting film. It's just as a thing.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, because we'll have customers come into the store and they'll be like, hey, I found this, you know, camera at a thrift shop. It's like $5. Does it work? And we can kind of assess it. We don't do repair here. But, you know, one of the first things that we'll look at is, okay, well, if we put this film in, will your camera recognize it as a 100, a 200, or 400? Because we've had people come in and be like, well, I shot this roll of film and it didn't come out. I'm like, well, you used a 100 speed film on this really small point and shoot. You probably, you know, as you were saying, using 400 would have served
Right.
you better. Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm testing a camera, I'm always using Fuji 400.
As a generic tester. It's inexpensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's 400 speed, so if it's in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm testing a camera, I just use whatever I have. Which is probably not the best, but I'll just use. I'm like, I got something in my fridge. I'll just use that and hope for the best.
And when
Hopefully it
your
turns
images
out.
don't turn out, you can just edit them.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, you
Heresy,
can.
my friend.
No.
Anyways,
So methodology, I think I'm hearing all three of you say you think about the environment you're going to shoot in and you choose your film stock accordingly.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
the ISO definitely plays into that. Do any of you have certain films that you typically gravitate to, maybe on a consistent basis, or are you open to pretty much anything?
gold.
Kodak Gold.
Portrait 800 too. Recently, I shot a
It's
roll
really great.
this summer. Then I loved the way it looked. And then I shot another 35 roll. I think last year for like a
You shot
photo shoot.
35?
That was a year ago when I had all my 35s. And I shot it for a photo shoot and it looked really great. I love the tones of that. So I'm going to be getting more into Portrait 800, I think. But gold is my go-to film. It always looks good. But for nighttime, I'd say 800T, just 'cause that's what I have.
So
nice black
there
and
are
white.
certain for you. Then it's just I go to certain specific ones. and
Yeah,
I-
it's
I
like
know what
gold
I
and
like.
800T are probably like my basics of what I'm going to go to, at least for color film.
Solid 2 choices.
And then I have other rolls in my fridge. It's just those are my two go-tos for if I need a good solid roll of film and I know it's going to turn out, I'm going to go with one of those two.
Bree.
Since I started working here, I've definitely experimented with a lot more films, so I can't say within this past year that I've consistently gone back to a specific film type. I think the one that comes to my mind is HP5. I think I've gravitated towards that. And lately, XP2. I don't know what it is about that XP2.
It's a good film.
It's cheap.
I feel like it's a sleeper film.
Yeah.
It's one of those films that don't get a lot of recognition.
But it looks really
then
good.
We've had customers discover it. Actually, I remember early on, one of our early customers, and he'll send us film about every 6 months. But since he was one of our first customers, I kind of always remember him. So an order comes in, he'll always ask for TIFF files. But one time he shot a roll of XP2, got his scans back, and he emailed me. He's like, is this right? Like, this looks too good. Like, because he shot a lot of like traditional black and white, your HP5, your Tri-X, your Deltas. Then he shot a roll of XP2, and it was just super sharp, super fine grain. And it was just, it blew him away that a C41 black and white film looked so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you think of like a black and white color, like you develop it as color, but it's black and white, sounds crappy.
Yeah.
But it's really not.
I think it's got to be something maybe with the nothing's varying or changing in the development, maybe. So just every time it's going to be solid. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be different when you develop it in black and white chemistry. Maybe because you are having temperature changes and stuff. Wouldn't know because I haven't done it. But I think the XP2 just always looks so solid. Like, it just looks great.
Yeah, I've only ever shot it in 35, but now that as we talk about it, I'm probably going to go burn a roll of 120.
Never
that-
shot
that would
one.
look-
Yeah.
I didn't know
Did we
that.
sell that?
Yeah.
In 120
You guys
here?
didn't know
I
that?
didn't
I
know
knew
that.
that.
Yeah, it's on the lab store
I'm
right
going
over
to
there.
get some tonight because I did not know that.
Well, I don't have
John's
a
credit card.
today.
Oh,
John,
you
you're
go.
going to put it in the Holga?
You can borrow the Holga and go shoot some XP2.
No.
Do you want to tell that story?
Okay, so I forgot what it was. Oh, it was Holga week. Okay, I didn't know what this was. But I
Holga
guess
week,
it's
that was a legitimate thing. We got a lot of orders, and people were putting notes on, hey, it's Holga week, and
Holga
all their
week.
film was coming in shot
right.
on
So
Holgas.
I was prepping, and I was reading all these notes of Holga week, and they were talking about the Hasselblad, and for some reason in my brain, it flip-flopped to where they're talking about the Hasselblad, and I'm like, oh, it's the Holga. And so now every time I'm talking about the Hasselblad, I say Holga. And I don't know why. It's just in my brain now is like...
It's just permanently, those neuro pathways in your brain have just swapped
It's
over.
happened to me a couple times before, but this is a big one where it's like every time I say it, and then everyone just looks at me like, really? And I'm like, sorry. But
Which
it's
is so ironic because you have like a $40 Holga and like a $3,000 Hasselblad.
I know,
I don't like the Holga
polar
120s.
opposites.
Literally, yeah, they couldn't be more
no.
different.
Anyways,
So.
moving on.
Yeah, no, XP2 is in 120.
Yeah, so I've only shot it once, but I think whenever we do pack orders, that's kind of what I think to give.
You gave
people.
away an XP2 recently.
I did, yeah.
It was a pack order that you forgot. And you're like, oh, wait.
Just give them an XP2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe we should we probably should just do a review on XP2 because it is one of those films that you don't hear a lot about. But when we see it at the lab or, we'll get customer feedback, it's always, kind of, that was surprisingly good. I'm
Yeah.
surprised. Yeah. And it's cheaper to develop because it being a C41 film, you can develop it as color film and it won't cost you as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love a good bargain.
Love a good bargain. How much was your point and shoot? Or no, how much was your Elan 2 that you bought?
That was $50.
$50. That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
That's it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't come with a lens or anything, but
Yeah, but you
Still.
can just rent lenses from your college.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I had a lens because I used it for my other camera.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I bought that. So I could use the EF mount lenses.
And, this is unrelated to today's podcast, and we've mentioned this now that modern digital cameras have gone to mirrorless. Canon, Nikon, and Sony, they've all changed their mounting systems to mirrorless cameras. All the old EF or F mounts, I don't shoot Nikon, but all the old Canon lenses basically are
one
super
does.
cheap nowadays. No one does. No one does.
Yeah, and you can just get an adapter for the RF.
And I did.
I have an adapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we all have adapters.
Smart choice.
Yeah, but a lot of great glass that you could use for film cameras is now much cheaper because of that transition.
Thankfully.
Thankfully.
So,
Bree's gonna have like an 800 millimeter
Yeah.
lens on her.
well, I had the 400 on it not too long ago.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That one was free for me to use.
One-
Thank you, UCF.
Thank you, UCF. Tuition.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the videos I would love to do is, and we've talked about this, and now that winter is coming up and we get a lot of birds migrating down to Florida, is go do like a wildlife video on film. And I've looked like you can get this is still a lot of money, but you can get like a 600 millimeter f4 Canon lens. It's EF for like $2,000 to $4,000.
Yeah.
And those used to be like $12,000 lenses 10 years ago when, that
Right.
was, so it's wild again, how much those lenses have come down and you can use. But I think that's going to be a future video that we do, wildlife on film. We can all go out.
That'll
We'll
be
go out to
fun.
Black
That would be
Point.
That would
really
be
fun.
fun.
Yeah. You rented a telephoto lens from your school recently too.
Yeah, the 400. Yeah.
The 400?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it like shooting on that?
I loved it. It was a chore to get out. Like you had to plan. You had to plan around it. I shot.
Gotta start working out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shot surf photography on it. So I took it to. Oops, Michael, if you're watching this, no, you're not. I took it to the
Wait,
beach.
are you restricted on where you can take it?
You're not allowed to take him to the beach.
Yeah.
She's banned.
Well,
now from renting lenses.
it was 400, so you were far back, not on the beach, but
I
zoomed
wasn't.
in
Yeah,
on
I
the
was
beach.
technically
You're on the
on the
boardwalk.
boardwalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you weren't. on
That's
it.
not the same thing.
That's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
You're
it's-
good.
So
You're
it's
good. We're good.
fine.
We're good. We're good.
You were
It's
very
fine.
mindful, very
I
thoughtful.
was very
Very
mindful.
demure.
Yep.
But yeah, it was very nice.
Very good.
Actually,
Your
I-
face is literally beaming like you love this lens.
Yeah, words can't describe how perfect it was.
And then the shots came out really well too.
Thanks.
I was surprised by how well, not because of it all, but just not her shooting skills.
Bree
I'm
sucks.
saying-
I was really surprised.
No, I'm saying that surfing is really hard to capture. Like I've seen people try to do it on, and surfing is just such a fast, quick paced thing to catch on film. They turned out really well and looked awesome
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
what it was.
Was that Ilford HP5?
No, that was XP2.
XP2?
It was.
Is that what turned you on to XP2?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to try it at a football game because I haven't done a football game in a while, so I think that would be really nice.
Yeah, it'd be neat to see how well that film pushes, because maybe shooting XP2 is a 200
Yeah.
speed. Is it 200? It'd be neat to see because I could see being at a football game wanting 400 or 800 at
Shoot
night.
to 800. That would be interesting.
That
Shoot
would be
800T too.
Yeah.
When you go to the football game, shoot 800T.
800.
That'll look super cool.
With the 400.
Yes.
That would be dope, actually.
That would be so dope.
That'd be sick.
I need
Future
a
video.
football team. If you know anyone.
So we're for hire for weddings
Yeah.
and for football
And for
photography.
football. Yeah.
Gators, reach out.
No.
Not UCF.
No.
Gators.
Knights, if you're watching this,
Go
I'll take your
Knights.
photos.
Yeah.
On
Gators.
film only. That's the catch.
I saw someone with that shirt the other day. I have never seen anyone else wear that.
Takes a special person.
It's actually a pretty dope shirt.
If you do say
I
so
wasn't there,
yourself.
but I found it at a thrift store. But
Oh, it's the
still,
Rolling Stones. What do you have against the Rolling Stones?
I was saying I wasn't there at the
I
place.
don't. I was
Oh.
just saying
Oh.
I've never seen
You
anyone
don't
else
like the
wear
Rolling
the shirt
Stones?
before. I didn't say that.
Ava doesn't like classics, guys. Sorry. Back to film.
Maybe we should have a music and film podcast and we'll discuss iconic film photos for bands.
That'd be. Ooh.
That actually would be a good
yes.
episode.
That would be a good episode.
I mean, think about all the band covers through the 60s, 70s, and 80s, all shot on film.
There's even some new ones now, though, being shot on film.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
800T, I saw a couple that were
Oh, yeah.
shot for like Khalid. I don't know if anybody
Oh,
knows.
yeah,
A lot
yeah.
of people know him. He did one with like a Nissan Skyline, which was awesome. But it was a Nissan Skyline like 800T, and it looked awesome. It
Yeah.
was super cool.
Well,
looking.
not only that, but for some reason, 16 millimeter cinema film is
I was-
really big for music videos nowadays.
Yeah, I was just about to say
Yeah.
I've been because I follow the Kodak like cinema.
Their Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I see so many music videos that are being shot on film.
It's
and I think
that-
that's so cool.
Niche.
Niche.
Niche. I almost had a little panic attack. Didn't want to get barked at. No. Yeah, I follow that too, and because we have the Super 8 camera now for the lab. We sell Super 8 film, and we're going to start selling 16 millimeter film here too, even though we don't process it. But it seems like a lot of people are going into that from the cinema part, but also the still photography. We're seeing that. But yeah, maybe that can be its own podcast. We'll go over iconic film photos in the music world.
And music, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things we wanted to discuss today as well was the idea of, okay, we have maybe our methodologies for picking out film, but we have 3 distinct film types that we can shoot. We have color negative, we have black and white, and we have slide film. So Do you guys have a preference or recommendations on when people should shoot a specific type? Because slide film, even though it's color film, has a distinct look, and it looks different than color negative. And of course, black and white is black and white. What are your thoughts on that?
I've always thought of slide film as sunset or sunrise. That's the only time I've ever thought of shooting it. People shoot it for other things. People do like a lot of landscapes that look really cool. Like they'll go to like national parks and stuff. And my go-to for like slide is like sunrise and sunset, just because the colors look so good. That's like my go-to for slide. I feel like I don't know. I've only ever shot one roll of it though, so I don't really shoot that much slide. But
yeah, we don't develop a lot of slide here either. So that's oftentimes sometimes we'll get people who shoot slide film and they don't even know it's slide film, and they order color negative processing and they send it in.
I've never shot slide film, but scanning it, I noticed that I guess like the white balance is really cool compared to any other film or any
Unless it's
color
old.
negative. So I'd take that into account.
it's difficult to shoot too. Like you need to be like, we've seen like if you overexpose it or underexpose it, it's kind of like you're screwed.
It's gone.
Like, it has to be spot on.
You have
There's a
to
little
nail
bit
it.
of room, like a little bit, but if you overexpose it or underexpose it, it's gonna be grainy or blown out.
Yeah.
Yeah, slide film has very limited dynamic range. I want to say maybe 5 stops of dynamic range is what I've seen. And since it is a positive, it's kind of, in my mind, it's baked in. If you overexpose it, that overexposed look is baked in. Because we've had people reach out and be like, hey, my scans are really bright. And then we'll look at the order, we'll see, well, this was slide film, and we'll have to explain to them, unlike color negative where you can overexpose, if you overexpose slide film, there's literally nothing we can do.
Right.
It has to be very precise.
Yeah, that's the most difficult part about the slide film. It's just getting the exposure right, because if it's too underexposed or too overexposed, that information's gone. And there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who it was. Somebody had shot a sunrise, a panoramic sunrise. When we printed them out, I don't know if anybody remembers that.
I think it was
Was it John Berube?
Yeah,
Probably.
I think it was him.
What's up, John?
And like the first few were overexposed, but then he nailed it. He finally nailed the
Yeah.
exposure, and it was a very beautiful shot.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was shooting like large format
Large
camera.
format.
He has one of those Intrepid or large format cameras with a 120 film back. So he's getting like 6x17
It looks
bigs.
so cool.
Yeah,
They look pretty baller.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
it's
me want to
awesome.
go and buy one.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't develop large format film, but you know who's really good at that? That guy on YouTube, Nick Carver.
Oh, yeah.
Nick, I love you. I've been watching your show for years. He's super cool, but he shoots that 6x17 format and just gets. It's just that format is so unique looking.
Yeah.
Because when you think about how am I going to compose this ultra wide pano shot, and when you nail it, but his John's
Yeah.
images were really good.
Yeah, it was.
He's
really
always
good.
come back good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always nails his exposures.
Bracketing. I think if you shoot slide film, and I think that's what John was doing. He was bracketing shots. He had an exposure, then he shot 1 over, 2 over, 1 under, etc., just to make sure the exposure was right. And that's
okay.
probably what you were seeing. Yeah.
Interesting.
Handheld meters.
Yeah, you can use handheld meters for slide film for sure.
Go watch our Hurricane Milton video with me and my son.
Those slides turn out really good. Those are
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, if you want to venture into slide film, if you get like a little Sekonic handheld meter that can read the light hitting your subject. So
Or even a phone app that
Or
I
if-
used in the
Tri-X.
That's what
you
it was.
used your phone app?
I did, yeah.
Because
They
I
look
had
good.
the light meter.
I think
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the I think the phones, I think the way light meters work is they're reading the scene by looking at it like a digital sensor. And then the other way a light meter works would be the light actually hitting like the white bulb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for shooting slide, that's going to get you the most precise exposure. So when I went out and shot that Hurricane Milton video, if the sun was like over here hitting me, the subject, I would just like meter, like, okay, what's the light hitting the white bulb? And if you do that and then you set your, shutter, your aperture appropriately, every single shot will be perfectly exposed.
Yeah.
But that's what you need for slide film. You need perfect exposures, generally speaking. Maybe a little bit of half a stop latitude, but you want to have them dead on.
Yeah.
So you've never shot slide?
I have never.
We should send her out and shoot some slide film.
Yeah, I kind of do. I think about buying a roll every once in a while.
We'll cover you.
Think about it.
So there's only Ektachrome, Flick Film Chrome, Provia, and Velvia. and we never have Provia and Velvia, and it always sells out so quickly.
I'm in the middle of a Velvia right now.
You are?
So what's a good time to shoot?
Is it in your camera, or did you take it out?
I took it out halfway through.
Where's it at?
It's in my camera bag.
So you just pull it back out and just, oh, right, and you wind through.
I constantly take out film rolls that aren't finished and then put them back in later.
Weirdo.
I do that all the time. Speaking of situations, and like
She's about to prove you why this is so amazing to do it.
yeah, because if you're shooting somewhere that's daylight and then you go into somewhere that's dark, all right. I always usually have a Sharpie or pen or something, so I'll rewind all the way. So there's like a little bit of the film
leader part
out. And then I'll open my camera, mark what number I stopped at, put another roll of film in, shoot that until I want to shoot the other one. I usually have probably 2, maybe sometimes 3 half-used, quarter-used ones that I carry around with me. And then just like, oh, I want to take a few shots on this. I put it in, take a few shots, rewind it back in, leave the card out, do it again.
It's smart. I mean...
The only thing is... if you mess it up, it's like messed up. So you just gotta make sure, you just have to really make sure you're not doing it like not like.
You have to be very thoughtful.
You have to like sit there and think about it.
Keep a notes too in
we have
notebook. I love those.
The photo memo book.
The photo memo books.
I love those books. I use them for like a couple different things.
There. Write it in there.
There's literally one right there.
I have to say,
buy one.
I do. Now I kind of just write it on the thing because my memo book is full.
You've used it up? Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, when I was on that trip in New Zealand, that would have been probably a wise thing to do because when I was shooting that roll of Ektar, I think I was maybe 10 shots in. And I was just like, okay, we're going inside. I just quickly rewound it and just shoved it in my pocket and was going. Granted, we were on a tour. There was like 30 people there. It was like hustle and bustle, no time to think. But I could have looked down at my Leica and be like, okay, I'm 10 shots in. And then just fired off 10 blanks with like you do it with the lens cap, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Fire them off 10 shots and then could have kept using that. And, that's probably $12 down the drain, you figure, of unused shots potentially.
Yeah. And that's like, I don't know if it's just me, but even if I'm at 30, I do that.
Like,
I cannot stand
I'm gonna get those last 6
having
shots.
that blank end that I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna. Yeah, my Velvia is actually at 29.
John wouldn't know because he only shoots 120 film.
Exactly. And I also...
You cannot do that
either
with
way,
120.
if I'm shooting 35 or 120, I burn through my film. Like, I just shoot so much. So I never have the problem of like, oh, I'm like...
Some of us like being mindful.
Well,
and
no, the other day...
I'm mindful. I just am very good at shooting. So
we're gonna have a mindful and demure counter on this podcast.
Oh, jeez.
The other day when I was shooting film with my mom, we were walking around St. Augustine. She was like, man, you shoot film like it's digital. And I'm like, well,
Perks of working at the lab.
Yeah.
Because I'm a baller. All right. Well, I think that's a good stopping point for our break. We'll see you back in a few minutes.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to this week's podcast, How to Choose the Right Film. And for tuning in, we have a discount for you. The new Street Savvy film is live. We have a review here on YouTube. And if you put in code SAVVY, 2 V's, you get 10% off your next order. And this is good for the next 2 weeks from the date we published this podcast. And back to the show.
Cake.
Alrighty, folks, we are back for part 2. Bree, you have something on your mind you'd like to share with the group?
Do I?
That sounds
or the
very
thousands
accusatory.
of YouTube viewers who listen to our podcast.
Your coffee butter.
Coffee butter?
The dumbest name in the world, by the way.
It's not coffee butter. It's cookie butter.
Cookie butter. It's holiday and it's delicious.
What I want to know is how many grams of sugar are inside that.
I don't care. The holiday season does not count grams of sugar. It counts happiness.
Sure.
I wish that was true.
And I need it. Listen, guys, it's the end of the semester. I'm struggling.
It's also the end of the day.
This is relieving said struggle. So.
Are you at the end of the semester?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're going. Yeah, November, December.
Yeah.
This was Bree's first semester at UCF working towards the bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot different than the state college.
Welcome to the real world.
How was your first semester? Tell the good people.
It was good. For some reason, one of my professors decided to give us like $8 million assignments within 2 weeks to do them, so that's really fun. Other than that, it was fun. I don't like school, so.
She just loves working at the lab. She'll come here on her days off, hang out with us.
Sometimes, yeah.
I have to
Much
say,
to my
I liked
chagrin.
it.
Much to your chagrin. Well, you
just
have
kidding.
an assignment you're actually going to do here at the lab, right?
Yeah, I'm going to do my final videography assignment. And I am so happy this is my last videography class ever, I think. I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty
hope.
sure.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
got to look at that catalog again.
Yeah, probably should.
That's the most annoying.
Yeah. But hate I don't like video. Not a video
It's so
gal.
much fun. I don't know how you couldn't.
Yeah, you've really taken over the video for all of our reviews, which
I love
Good it. Job, John.
which you're really happy.
Hey, John.
I'm very
Hey,
happy.
John. You want to do my assignment?
No, actually, I would. But no, it's been fun learning. There's been some learning curves for sure of getting the look that you like and Paul likes for editing and learning. But it's been fun learning how
Yeah,
to do
the
it.
dynamic duo between a film, shooting video and working with an editor.
Getting everything
but
to just flow.
yeah, I feel like lately the videos have been getting better. Not that they were bad, but
I remember the first one we did when you looked at it and you were like, guys.
that first
was the
video had
one-
some feedback.
Was that the 121 that we shot?
Yeah, that
Or
was,
was that-
that was rough though because it was just her and I out shooting, so we had to like jump back and forth, which
That's
wasn't
true.
helpful. And then also we
The-
kept this very like monotone shot of like
This-
just
yeah, the Cinestill 400D
400D
versus
and
50D.
50D.
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
good
The
video,
point of the
just was
video is to
different.
compare the film stocks. But yeah, I think when you're making content for YouTube like we are, we're a small channel. We want to make quality content that people enjoy while showing off. No different than these reviews showing off the images.
Quality content.
Quality content. When we're shooting, you want to be very mindful.
very demure.
Hey,
Yeah.
Demure.
But it's been fun learning how to
Yeah.
use everything. I'm excited to start with these Sonys that we got and learn how to use those. And
You
Yeah.
have
the
a new
gimbal and
learning
stuff.
curve.
A new learning curve.
Well, after this class is done, I never want to take a video again. Or
we're
open
gonna start making
Premiere.
Bree shoot all of our YouTube videos. So
open
she has to do
DaVinci.
videography.
DaVinci.
I never used DaVinci.
If I had to choose one, that's the one that I would choose. But
That's a video editing software.
Yeah.
You use CapCut, right?
Yeah, if we shoot a video and we edit it here, CapCut's been good to me. It's intuitive, it's easy to pick up on, and it's not so. I think with DaVinci potentially maybe
And
so
Premiere.
overwhelming. Right now, I've never used DaVinci, but I've used Final Cut. I've looked at Adobe Premiere.
Premiere is
Ugh,
complicated
Premiere
as
is the
heck.
worst. No
Final
offense,
Cut.
Adobe, I love you. But
Final Cut's the Apple one, right?
Final Cut's Apple.
That's what
yeah.
I've been looking at getting, but I've been trying to take consensus from everyone
CapCut's
that uses it.
You edited our Lucky Film video on CapCut.
Did a
Yeah.
great job.
maybe I should try
Thanks.
CapCut for my final.
It's so much easier than
Is it?
Premiere.
Yeah. I think the thing with the video editing software is like once you start going down that road, you invest more and more into it. And so we've invested in the CapCut. It was just like a yearly subscription, and we've used most of that. Paul, who edits all of our videos, he uses Final Cut, but he's been editing videos with Final Cut for probably years and years
Years.
at this point. And so he knows how to work it. But
That's the same. I mean, yeah, with any sort of software, for this specifically with video, you're gonna, if you use it for a long time, it's gonna be easy.
yeah, I do think CapCut's good. Like I feel like you and I in particular, we could sit down and edit a video in CapCut pretty easily. And we're
Yeah.
like, okay, let's publish it to YouTube.
maybe I should try CapCut.
I
Try
got it for my
CapCut.
reels, like for editing reels for like Instagram, and it's super easy. You just throw your images in, add your song, and just
You
be
do it
done.
on the phone, like CapCut
Well, I have it
mobile.
on my phone, and then I got it on my computer too, just the
Yeah.
free version.
Yeah, the desktop version's nice. It's intuitive.
Yeah, I
has
like
a lot
the
of,
setup. It's
yeah.
a lot. It's nice.
Yeah, it's
It's been
nice.
pretty good.
Well, my professor has been sprinkling in After Effects. Okay, if you thought
Sprinkling in.
if you thought Premiere was bad, After Effects is horrible.
Sprinkling.
I just can't.
Hmm.
I know Photoshop, and that's my extent.
I love Photoshop.
I don't know anything about Photoshop,
I've told you.
but I don't need it because I don't edit my film. So
All right.
Not for film, for digital.
So,
Film.
back to film.
Yeah.
we didn't even
back
talk
to
about
film.
black and white and what that's good for shooting. So
Or
Yeah,
color.
I think before the break, we kind of had the idea of, okay, we have color neg, we have slide, and we have black and white. When do you guys gravitate towards black and white film? I know for me,
Architecture.
it's family stuff. There was probably 6 or 7 years ago, I had a period of a solid year. I only shot black and white film. I shot no digital. I shot no color neg. I shot HP5 because I bought like a pack
Jamie
of like
Sherman.
Jamie, yeah. We have a customer here who only shoots black and white.
And Fuji 400.
Several hundred, just hundreds and hundreds of rolls we've processed.
Just 2 different stocks. Sometimes they'll branch out and shoot like Fuji 400, and we're like, whoa, he shot something different.
Yeah,
No, it's the tube.
So sometimes when you know, you're like, these are my film stocks.
That's true.
But I only shot black and white for maybe a solid year. And my daughter at the time maybe was 5 or 6 years old. So when I go back and look at those, they just have that HP5 film look. And so for me, black and white film, I would recommend, and we've said this in other videos, for like documenting your daily life. I love black and white film for that.
I think it's so flexible too. It's like I've noticed too, even if I like way overexpose it and it's super grainy, you can still make it look like, oh, this is the look I was going for. Even if
how do you make it look like that?
when I'm scanning, okay.
In the scanners.
No, if we overexpose something, or like if someone overexposes their film, you can make it look like, oh, like this is the look I was going for. So I like the flexibility of black and white, and it's always like it just looks good too.
Yeah.
I just love it. It looks
Yeah,
clean.
because if black and white is underexposed because it has no color dyes, you can still get an image. You're like, I still like this. It may look very flat and gray, but you can work with it.
you can get something out of it.
I mean, you can edit it and really make
Yeah.
it great. I mean, that's definitely a possibility.
Oh yeah.
But even when they're underexposed,
well, I love shooting black and white at like an aquarium or somewhere where light is kind of all that you got.
yeah,
If that makes sense.
yeah,
Working with the highlights and shadows.
Yeah. Because, with an aquarium, I feel like the color's always so I don't want to say monotone, but it's always kind of just
Intense?
This like blue, just one blue color.
yeah.
in
You get
my
a lot of
opinion.
light coming through, like the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like doing it. Whenever I'm picking up a roll of black and white, I'm always thinking about what the light is doing and hoping that it's doing something extraordinary.
Okay. Yeah, that's all you have with black and white film is you have to be very conscious about what is the light doing. Because with color, you're just kind of focusing on the colors. How is this going to turn out? Is this a portrait shoot? Is this a gold shoot?
Yeah, there was a photo that I took of I was in this aquarium tunnel thing, and I shot this coral, but there was a light, just a light, and it made like these rays because I was shooting under the coral. Because
Okay.
again, I was like in this tunnel, and I love that image. Didn't do super well on Instagram.
Put it right here.
Yeah, so go like it, please.
It wasn't
I
a
beg.
banger.
It wasn't a banger.
I hate when that happens.
but it should be.
Yeah.
Like you post a post on Instagram, like this photo's so good,
Yeah.
it's gonna blow up, and then it's like,
I
did
remember one
nothing.
day I think you and I were the only ones here, and you're like, I only post bangers. It just made me laugh.
There was one time though I was shooting a sunset, and for some reason I guess I just didn't check what the film stock was. I was sure it was a color film. So I went and shot this whole sunset, and I pulled, at the roll finish, I was like, I was shooting HP5. Now, the colors were so good, too. I was like, oh, the colors are on fire. Like, it's going to be so good. I mean, they still turned out, and it was like a good black and white, but it was not the colors I was wanting, obviously.
That has definitely happened before, where I think I have one film camera or film stock in my camera, and I end up shooting it and developing it. I'm like, nope,
like, oh,
that was not what I was expecting.
That's what's nice about having the little window.
Yeah.
Oh,
like on
some
my-
cameras,
my
yeah.
I think my
Camera
just
does
didn't look at
not
it.
have
I
a
think
window
he literally
at
had the
all.
window, and I just didn't look at the window.
He wasn't being very mindful.
Mine does not have a window.
That'd be a fun video for YouTube. Actually, I just thought of this. Is you give us all random films, and we don't know what the speed is, and we have to shoot it and just guess.
Well,
But we
we'll
have to tell
know
you
what
the
the speed is.
no, that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah.
have to just guess, though, and
No,
hope for
you'll
the best.
see what it is
No,
on
that'd
the
be fun,
ISO.
though. It'd be fun, though.
That would be fun.
I think, a random film. You'd have to know the speed, though, because you still would want to meter appropriately.
But
Well, you would
Like, you
know the
have
speed,
a
but the
800
speed
speed
it's
film.
not too like.
There's not many 800 speed films, so.
well, I mean,
Then we do
Portrait
400 and
800.
200s.
Okay.
Because then you could put also the Konos in there. You could put the lomographies in there. You could put literally anything in there.
I think shooting portrait 800 compared to
It would-
Cinestill 800 is very different.
Oh,
so you
so
would know.
different.
That's true.
That would.
It would. I
interesting.
mean, if we're gonna do it for a video, it would probably be at daytime anyway.
Okay.
It still looks pretty different though.
Shoot tungsten.
So, Ava, what about you for black and white? Do you find yourself using it or recommending it in certain scenarios, or are you primarily a color film shooter?
Currently, I have not shot a black and white roll for a long time.
Years. At your
Really?
secret location.
So, the Lucky Film was probably the only black and white film you shot in a
Oh,
long time?
yeah.
And that was
A
for our
very
review?
long time.
Wow, okay.
Probably beginning of this year, actually.
Any particular reason why?
Probably the darkroom class.
Undisclosed.
Undisclosed reason.
Oh, okay. I know why. It literally, as those words were coming to my mouth, it dawned on me.
Nobody can know.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Ava's secret project. That's going to be a new thing now.
Please subscribe to our
I
YouTube
do
channel.
have a secret project.
Don't say it.
So,
And don't have Bree. Bree's like,
don't say anything.
No, that just took me a long time to figure out.
Remember that episode of Psych where the mortician is like, I can't keep secrets. I will tell.
And then he goes, I was just pulling out my phone to call you.
Yeah. Oh, such a great show.
Woody is so funny.
Yes.
Anyway,
anyway,
so you
I do really like black and white, though. I just haven't been shooting a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Been focused more on color films this past year.
and the darkroom class,
That would
I
have
would
burned me out.
do a whole no. Mm-mm. I don't think that would ever burn me out.
Really?
It is so much fun,
Like
especially
traditional
because
black
if you
and white
have
darkroom?
if you shoot
Yeah. Okay.
if you shoot a whole roll of 35, you got like 38 images to work with. So I mean, if they don't all come out, you don't. But still, I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and since the process of black and white printing is so like finessing things, I definitely made 5 or 6 prints of the same photo, just making it better and better until I got to where I wanted it. And some of them I actually never got to where I wanted it because either I ran out of class time or had to leave or ran out of paper, which didn't happen often thanks to the lab.
Yeah, we have a lot of paper. I guess that is the unique part of black and white is, you know, originally it was made for enlargers. I mean, well, all negative film is made for enlargers, but black and white film in particular
Specifically, yeah.
is made to be in a larger to actually make physical true prints. But we don't really see probably that much happening nowadays. Maybe on the university level, people taking classes.
Yeah. I know there's a class that Natalie teaches at the college that she has 2 different classes.
She follows us now on Instagram. Our Daytona State photo program follows us on Instagram.
Ah,
That happened literally yesterday.
Really? Whoa.
Yeah.
We're really moving up in the world,
Nice.
guys.
Nice.
They probably started connecting things.
No, I love black and white.
They probably listened to our last podcast.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh,
I heard all you
I
guys'
emailed
slander
Natalie and I
about the
told her you need to
photography
check this
program.
out.
you did?
Yeah, I didn't tell you that.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I found her email. The Daytona State professors, if you go to the website, they're listed and you can email
emailed
them.
it to Natalie?
No.
Oh, you actually got me so excited. I was like,
I had it
oh.
rolling.
Oh, really? I had a little bit of panic.
We didn't say anything that bad.
You probably should lay off the sugar right about now.
Actually, I need to go back and listen
Tweak it
to
over
it
there.
before you email it.
No, I think you all you said is that you really liked her and Bree said she was a good professor, but I think you in particular, and I think that happens when you go to college. Maybe you have certain professors you really connect well with, you know, that kind of
Yeah.
I
more
mean,
so.
I was never one to like connect with teachers.
Bree's antisocial.
Bree's connected
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Like, teach me. I don't. Just teach me. Don't be my friend.
No, a black and white
See,
film.
I think for me, because of the drastic change from almost a year, definitely a few semesters with Jayanti, when someone like Natalie came in, it was like
The look was
night
crazy.
and day, though.
So, Ava, you have not been shooting black and white film.
No,
No.
not as much.
All right. Hey, well, let's get into talking about the difference between consumer films and pro films. Which, right as I'm saying that and looking at you, tell us a little bit about what you were watching the other day on YouTube.
So, when we were talking about this podcast, Michael had mentioned this video. Well, I guess because I brought up that I was curious about how film is made. So he showed me the Smarter Everyday.
Smarter Everyday YouTube channel. Go check out the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I mean, awesome guy. Destin, I believe, is his name. When I used to do counseling, he had a few videos on some things that related to like brain psychology, and I used those.
He's the guy that did the bike.
The backwards bike. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Brain
okay.
science.
I know that guy.
Yeah,
There we
back to the
go.
bicycle
That
guy.
just clicked in my
That's
head.
the video that I used in counseling as kind of an object lesson in how your brain forms habits and kind of relearning how to do any sort of habit. So the backwards bike is a good video. Go check it out. We'll have a link down below for it. But anyways, yeah, he did a Kodak factory tour, and he
Yes.
has 3 one-hour videos going over the process of how Kodak makes film. And you've watched.
Wow.
I watched 2 parts of it.
Okay.
So the first part was talking about the plastic of film. Simply
Yeah,
just the plastic.
how they make it.
An hour?
Yeah.
I need to watch those.
I watched
That's
it several
cool.
years ago, I think, when it first came out. So a lot of it's kind of faded from my memory, but it's an in-depth, like technical
It is in depth.
video. Very good
It's-
though.
Do they talk about like the actual like emulsions and everything, the bases and stuff?
Again,
The layers and
Like, does it
things.
go through
Yes.
every part of how it's okay? Cool.
Oh,
I need
yeah,
to watch
yeah.
those. Then.
the science behind it, because that's the video.
Okay.
His channel is Smarter Every Day, kind of showing you something sciencey to teach you something. So that the whole video is, well, what is the science of how color film, in particular, how it came to be and how complicated it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let me get my notes.
Oh, yeah. You have your iPad, right? Your notes. All right.
iPad, fancy.
Fancy.
She comes prepared.
I wrote notes. I'm behind on some of my schoolwork, but not this.
Not this.
I'm just kidding.
When I
guys.
told
The
Brie
lab
about this
homework
video,
is top of the.
I told Brie about this video. She's like, forget that school project. I'm
cares
never
about
home and watch
video?
this.
So in part 1, what I learned is that that Kodak has 2 different bases for their film, and I didn't know that.
Like plastic bases?
Yes.
Okay.
And the one that he was following was the Estra film base. So he was taking us through this process. And Estra is gold, Ultramax, Portra 800, Pro Image, 120 gold, and then Ektachrome 100 and 120.
Specifically
So
120.
what's the other? So what do you have? The other one?
Yeah, the other one is acetate. Oops. Hold on. And that one is Ektar, Portra 400, Portra 160, Ektachrome 35, and then all the other 120s
Whoa.
and all the black and whites.
What's the
Okay.
difference? I'm so confused.
He only really followed the Estra process. So, I mean, I'm sure we could probably figure out by, feeling the difference.
I wonder if one of those is that cheaper one.
Yeah,
that's a newer- I think it's a newer
fascinating.
thing.
Because I do know for Portra 400 and 160 that those came out, I want to say around 2012. So all things considered, those are newer films. I mean, Kodak Gold and Ultramax have been around for 30, 40 years or something like that. So that's interesting that they literally have a different plastic base for their pro films. Although it's weird that Ektachrome 35 and 120 have different bases.
And Portra 800.
And
We should
yeah,
Portra 800 is an older Portra.
okay.
I think
Which
this
I
is
love
an
it.
older manufacturing process. And
Okay.
maybe that, from what I gathered from the video,
Okay.
I'm assuming this is an older process.
That's so
So,
interesting. I'm gonna have to
but-
watch those videos now because I did not
Yeah,
know that.
for
That's
sure.
very interesting.
So that's another thing to consider, maybe. One thing that they mentioned in the video, like in the very beginning, was making a sturdy film. So they don't want it to be flimsy, but then on the backside of it, you don't want it to break the camera.
Yeah.
That is legitimate because Kodak Portra 400, 35 millimeter, every time we try to get it out of the canister with our daylight removal tools, I can tell that it's a thicker film base compared to Kodak Gold or Ultramax or
I
like a single use
love
camera.
The 400 film base because that one cuts like for our cut and
Yeah.
sleeve. We just got a new one for our older one. That Portra 400, just the film base is just perfect, just because it cuts nice. It comes right out of the canisters. Like it just is a more sturdier film, like Brie was
Yeah.
saying. Whereas
Yeah.
the gold and some of their, which I don't know if we noticed this when they. For at some point they kind of switched over and they started like becoming a thinner film base, or it always was. Maybe.
Yeah, something happened in their manufacturing process with some of the, I feel like, single use cameras, Portra 800,
Something like that.
that the plastic changed.
just a little
and
harder to like cut.
I noticed it, and I was talking with other lab owners. They noticed it too. It probably wasn't like a true material change like what you're talking about. Maybe they went thinner or something, but something changed. But
Yeah, I think this video was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah,
So
would've
I don't
been-
know if it happened after that or what. But
yeah.
It was right when I started working in the lab because I remember like everything was working. Then you started talking about how like the film base seems to be getting thinner.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was like that for a while.
Yeah, but Portra 400 does have a very thick film base. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Especially if we go in the dark room and we're unloading Portra 400 or Kodak Gold. The gold is so thin that it unravels. We have to like roll it back up and get
Yeah.
it inside a canister.
yeah.
Yeah. So what else you got from the video?
So that was pretty much it for the support. I have this like diagram of all of the machinery and the process that it goes through.
That's really
You see
cool.
it?
You drew that?
No, that was I think Kodak just
Kodak has
this
All
available.
right. It's on the screen right now. We'll get it from
Yeah.
Bree.
But it's just a crazy process. And these machines take up multiple floors. There are multiple floors for even just one machine. So it looks tiny, and you would think it'd be tiny because film is so small. I guess.
Right.
But no, this extends multiple floors, multiple buildings. It's insane.
When they're making it, is it all in one big, like, large main roll, and they cut it up after?
Yeah.
I guess that would make sense. So, like, so the film literally runs through floors.
And it's
they have what they call master rolls, and then each size is cut from it. 120 is cut, 35 millimeters cut, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So that was cool.
That is interesting, the different film bases. So getting back to the idea, though, of shooting film, what do you guys as lab techs see in terms of consumer films versus pro films? And I guess we could be more specific because Kodak probably has a larger color base. If we're looking at Kodak consumer films, we have Gold, Ultramax,
Color Plus,
and Pro Image. Is Pro Image a consumer film? It has Pro in the name.
It has
We're not
Pro
sure.
in the name, but I don't.
Isn't
I
it
thought
cheap
it
enough to be a
was.
consumer
It's an
film?
inexpensive film. But then the pro
But
films.
it looks nice.
Yeah, pro films, we have Portra, we have Ektar, we have Ektachrome, we have Tri-X, T-Max, etc. What are y'all's thoughts on the two films? Are the pro films worth the price?
I think
Depending on the film.
I think so, because I don't shoot as much of the pro films just because I don't do that much. If I'm doing a shoot, then I will grab a pro film because I want it to look good.
Like a professional shoot?
Yeah, like I'm doing a
For
professional
people?
shoot for
Yeah.
like someone, I'll grab
For
like
people?
Portra 400.
Could be like a dog shoot. Yeah.
No, but I've
love
noticed that
dogs.
just with the tones.
People do love their dogs.
That's
With
true.
the tones, like, all the Portras for sure have like, this is specifically what the tone is going to be.
They're very fine design for skin tones.
And
Yeah.
they look really good every time I've seen them.
Yeah,
Like,
and a variety of skin tones. It can
I
be
would-
people with lighter skin tones, darker skin tones. It does well overall. It's a very well-made film.
On that point, I will say I think Ektar as a pro film is not good at that. As skin tones.
That's more like a
Red
landscape.
skin.
It's
Yeah.
it's a pro film, but I would not use that for a shoot. I would use Pro Image
A
if I was
human
going to
shoot.
use a 100.
Yeah.
A
dog
human
shoots is
shoot.
good, but for human skin tones, it has turned a little bit
It-
red.
it
Yeah, I
turns
guess
little
pro
red.
films is not synonymous with shooting
Just people.
portraits or people, because you're right, Ektar would not be a good one. I feel like we talked about that in one of the other podcasts. Like it just
Probably.
not it being too red.
Yeah.
Like for someone like me who's fairly pale, it would make me look like sunburned in
Yeah.
some
Which is
respects.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say it's worth it if you're wanting to do professional shoots. But I've seen people do.
You could do that with gold.
That's what I'm saying. But it's just gold tends to have, like, if you're wanting to go for like true tones, gold can
Yeah.
sometimes give it like too warm of a look. Whereas a Portra 800 or like a 400 or something or 160 is going to give more of the true skin tones. So
Yeah.
if you're wanting to go with something that's like a true skin tone, that's going to really bring across your environment in like exactly the way it looks, or almost. I mean, obviously it's going to change it a little bit. I think those pro films are a good way to go, but
Yeah.
they're like really expensive. So that's why I don't shoot them as much. I'd rather just shoot something cheaper.
Yeah, as you're talking, to me, just kind of reminded of like all of our wedding photographers who
Yeah.
send film in. It's almost Fuji Pro 400H used to be like the go-to film back in the day before it was discontinued.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing film. And so now a lot of photographers who shot that have migrated over to Portra 400. But that's almost like Portra 400 or 800 are the two primarily like wedding film stocks that we
Yeah.
see, hands down.
I think that's pretty much all. Like for weddings, I think that's all we see is like Portra
You'll see
400.
like a roll of gold, or sometimes I saw Ultramax,
Occasionally.
and sometimes Fuji, but I do not. For weddings, you see the difference.
Yeah, I think if it's professional photographers or if you're a professional photographer, from what we have observed, the Portra 400 and the 800 do really well for the wedding environment. I'm biased towards the 800 because that's always been a favorite film of mine. I'll just shoot Portra 800 regardless, even though it's crazy pricey nowadays.
I just looked it up. Pro Image is not considered a professional.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Someone look this up and leave this in the comments, but I feel like Pro Image was a film designed for the Middle Eastern market for their skin, like a Middle Eastern skin tone.
I think I
think-
remember.
I could be
I
wrong
see
about
something
that,
like
because the way the color palettes render, it renders people with a little bit darker skin tone better. And so it was very popular overseas in like the Middle East type area. but now it's available widely here in the States and elsewhere. But it seems like that was the case. I could be wrong, but I remember maybe early on kind of reading that or seeing it, like the way the colors render. So yeah, not a pro film.
But I think for like your average day of shooting, if you're going out and just walking around a city or Epcot or something like that, you'd want to shoot.
That is an average day for you.
Yeah.
You'd want to shoot something like I would say just shoot a consumer film because it's so expensive for those pro films then. But if you're doing something like wedding photography or consistently doing photo shoots or something like that, I would say definitely go with the pro film. But I don't think for like, at least from what I've seen, everyday shooting, I mean, unless you want really solid stuff, like if you're taking pictures
you could
of
still
your
get
family.
solid stuff with consumer film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say yeah, I shoot mainly consumer films, but if I'm doing something specific, like we talked about, if I'm doing a specific shoot, I'll pick up a pro film to have.
We should probably do a comparison video of like 1-for-1, Ultramax versus Portra on a professional shoot, like because that would really begin to see
Get out the lights,
like what
reflectors, and do a
get
professional.
your speed lights out. But that would probably be a good video. But yeah, I think overall, looking at what we observed as lab techs, Portra is pretty much king in terms of weddings, very nice portraits, things like that.
Does it have less, like, I don't know if this is a thing or not, correct me, but is it branded as a little bit less grain or no? Am I wrong?
I think, yeah, it's supposed to be a finer grain, especially because it is a newer emulsion that was developed later, like 2012, even though that was 12 going on 13 years ago. That's
That's crazy.
That's relatively, yeah.
But I think that's a big difference.
2012 is when I finished graduate school. That's when I graduated from graduate school.
But no, yeah, I think the biggest thing too I've seen is the grain, because like Ultramax and gold less so because it's 200 speed film, but like Ultramax 400 or they're just gonna have a little bit more grain, whereas the professional films are gonna be super, which like I guess goes back to what you want your photos to look like, and you'll still have grain with the portraits because it's film, but I think it's a little bit less so. You have a little bit of a clearer image, I guess.
Yeah. I think, too, this is not to say that you can't use a consumer film for portraits, because I think we do get a fair amount of people who will send in wedding or, just kind of pictures
I think all of us
general
have done portraits on consumer films.
Consumer films and fine. I mean, Kodak Gold is fire film. Like, you can't go, especially in 120. Yeah.
I love it. I'll do portraits on gold, and I love the way it looks. It looks great, but
yeah.
That's
but the
look
120, if you're the 120 format in general is always going to afford you finer grain because of the bigger the film stock.
I think
that people 120 is better.
I think because I was just looking at the Kodak professional website and they were listing their products, and I think the gold 120 was considered professional color, but the gold, or did I say gold?
Yeah, gold.
Yeah, okay. And then the gold 35.
You need to lay off that sugar.
The gold 35 is considered every day.
Every day.
So
never mind, I shoot pro films, guys.
Well, and I think
nothing but a baller.
I'm a professional.
Well, they had two different bases, like we had mentioned before.
Yeah,
the
that's
gold
true.
is two different bases?
The 120 versus the 35.
Oh, I thought you said the Ektachrome.
Because the
Wait,
120.
so what you were saying, the bases, one base is all the pro films and one base is all the consumer films, or no?
I mean, no. It was, yeah.
Yeah, because I have shot, I mentioned this in a previous podcast where I was taking photos of my kids in the backyard shooting gold. And then when we developed them, yes, they looked good because it's the larger negative. Always 120 in my mind is always going to look good. But also 120 looks good because most camera lenses for them are better. Like,
right.
That's true.
You know, if you're shooting a nice medium format camera, high probability you're going to have a nice lens unless you're shooting the Holga.
Unless you're shooting the Hasselblad. We love the Hasselblad. It looks great. See, I can
you're
say
healing.
it. I can say it, the Hasselblad, not the Holga.
But yeah, so I'm not surprised then that gold is considered a pro film.
It also came out a lot more recently.
Yeah, gold came out maybe a year to 2 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Love that film.
I want them to do Ultramax and 120.
120. In 400.
I really wish Ultramax was a little bit more sensitive at 400 now. So, consumer films, pro films, it seems like for you guys and what we observe here at the lab, there's kind of a place depending on what you're shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also comes down to personal preference.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's all subjective, you know. Shoot what you want based on your budget or what
Edit
you
what you
like.
want.
Man.
Whatever you want to do.
What are films that you guys see yourself shooting in the near term, or what would you recommend? So lately we have been fortunate enough to test out some new films. We got this film imported from Japan. We have the new Street Savvy. What are you looking forward to shooting maybe this coming winter going into the spring potentially?
Ooh, winter. I didn't think about that.
We probably should do a video of film recommendations for the winter. We did one during the summer.
Right. I remember that.
So
Winter.
a quasi preview of that video. What would you guys shoot upcoming winter? The holidays.
800T.
I know I have certain films I
Holidays.
gravitate for, like Christmas
800T for all the Christmas lights.
lights. Yeah.
That makes sense, yeah. Since I shot my first one, maybe I'll be shooting more of it.
You should.
I'm going to say gold.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. Portrait 800
brother.
probably. And I'm going to be shooting a lot of Fuji 200.
I
own purposes.
oddly want to shoot Portra 160.
I have never shot Portrait
Neither have I.
160.
I
either.
want to.
All right. Let's talk about Portrait 160.
Oh, why?
Yeah. I love Portrait
Oh,
160. Yeah.
We've never shot it. What's it like?
Portrait
Film.
160 to me, so it's going to be real fine grain.
Yeah.
You know, I think Ektar maybe is advertised as the world's finest grain because it's 100 speed.
Right.
But Portrait 160 is kind of on the opposite end of the Ektar spectrum, that it's not really saturated.
That's what I've heard.
That's
It's
what
very
I've seen.
pastel.
Yeah, it's maybe pastel, but it just. I took a trip probably 6 years ago up to Stone Mountain up in Georgia. Have you guys ever heard of Stone Mountain?
I've heard of it, yeah.
You told us
It's
about
literally this. It's like just one big rock. Like, you know, you could think of a mountain. It's all jagged. This is just one big boulder, and you walk up it. I was shooting a Contax G2 with the 40. I think it's a 45 f2 lens. Kind of a unique camera. And again, just family photos. But I shot Portrait 160, and they just had a not a punchy saturated look, but just quality colors that were not overdone.
Right.
That when I looked at them, I'm like, I could see printing these large. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but I do think
That
Portrait
makes
160
sense.
is super underrated. We
Yeah.
don't develop a lot of
I
it.
haven't
No, we
seen too
don't.
much of it.
No, I mean, oftentimes
We only
if
see it for, like, shoots.
if we're grabbing a roll of Portrait to be like prep it and to write down the film stock for the customer,
It's
Always
400.
400 or
400 or
800.
800.
Yeah.
Always.
I usually start writing 400 and like, oh, wait, no, 160. Got to scratch it out and put 160 down.
Yeah.
It
the
takes me a minute,
Few
yeah.
rolls that I've scanned of it, or even just seen on like social media, I'm like, it just looks so good, and I really want to try it.
You want to split a pack?
I'm
I
not-
only shoot 120.
All
We'll
right.
split a
Portrait
pack.
160 comes in 120.
I know. I'm going to have to get it back.
Well, I don't have 120, so
You can borrow the
I'll split that
Hasselblad.
pack with you too.
I could. Ooh.
I don't really share film. So
Oh my god. There's like
I shoot all my film.
5.
Exactly. Barely enough.
I was gonna say if it was too expensive.
I have like 20 rolls of
That's
gold
what
sitting
it
in my
was.
fridge right now. I'm not even joking.
I have a lot of rolls
No, I
of
have, like,
film sitting in my
15.
fridge right now.
Yeah, I mean, even in terms of film that we sell, we'll do. Last year we did the most sold film of 2023.
That was Fuji. I think
And
Fuji 200.
Fuji 400.
I forget
thought.
what was number one.
It was
It was
Fuji.
one of the, it was both of the Fujis were at the
one
top.
of the,
HB5
one of the
was
Fuji
second, right?
consumer films.
Oh,
HB5
you're right.
was up there.
That was,
we
like, second,
sold
yeah.
like
Top
HB5.
3, I think.
But Portrait 400, I don't know if it was in the mix. It probably
It was. I'm pretty
but
sure.
Portrait 160, I would say for every 10 to 15 packs, I would say probably for every 20 packs of Portrait 400, we sell one pack of Portrait 160.
Wow.
Like looking at our inventory and what we sell, we just sell way more Portrait 400 than 160. But I think it's just an underrated film that people probably should try out.
That's it.
Like-
I'm going to buy it.
Shoot 160, guys.
I'll start a trend. Follow me on Instagram at Brianna.aguirphoto.
Okay. No, people should follow her. She's a great photographer.
Thank you.
And you can get lots of great photos of Epcot, you know, in your
Yes.
feed.
Yep. They're really good.
Yeah, but Portrait 160, I do think it's something that people, I don't know. I guess maybe, I think because it's 400, going back to 400,
Yeah.
it's just a great all-arounder.
It's a nice.
I think
Go ahead.
I think too because it's such a weird ISO. People are like, I don't know if I want to do that, or they don't know how to set theirs
Right.
to 160.
Yeah, I didn't think
So
about
they're
that.
like, I'm
Some
just not
cameras
gonna
don't have
shoot it.
that. It's just 1, 2,
Oh,
4,
no. I'm
8.
Yeah.
thinking, does mine have 160?
Your Elan could
It
do
should.
it.
It should?
Does
Okay.
my
I don't know, 120
6, 4,
shooter, you
5?
tell me.
Well, like my
don't
Canon,
know.
it's like it goes like 100, 200, but there's like 2 dots. And
pick a
one
dot
is
and hope for the best.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, with the Hasselblad, it wouldn't matter. So
Yeah, just use
That's
like a handheld meter or your phone app. But yeah. Yeah, because I think the in between ISOs are probably more common in digital photography.
Yeah,
that you
right,
can do
for
that.
sure.
So to see something that's 160, I wonder why they came up with 160. Like why that?
I have
Yeah.
no idea.
That's a very interesting.
If anybody
Somebody
knows,
find that out in comment.
Clearly, it's good for maybe this colors for some reason. It just pops better.
Yeah, I guess whatever formula they settled on, and then they test the sensitivity. They're like, well, it's not 100, it's not 200, it's 160.
But it's also not 125
it's not
with
125.
like other ones.
Is there a color film that's 125?
Oh yeah, FPP.
FPP makes a 125 color film.
It's actually
Like a real
I
color
like it
film.
though.
I'm joking.
I actually like it though.
I don't.
I
but
shot a
don't-
roll through it, and it is a little more red, but not as red as Electra
Does it
100
have
by
the weird
Flick
film
Film.
base though? It's like that. It looks similar to like the Santa maybe.
No,
Or am I wrong?
no. It has a
Oh, maybe that
normal
was the-
looking
the
film
s-
base.
s-
Electra looks like
Sphelma
that.
or FEMA color or something like that. What is that?
FEMA color? What the heck are you talking
no, it's,
about?
I know what I'm talking about. Okay, people know. It's like It's SEVMA.
Sensia?
Oh,
Sen-
I think
oh.
that film
Vima?
from Ukraine.
Yeah, that's what's got that weird base that I don't like.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it's got
Electra
the red
has a
canister.
weird base
Yeah, I think with
too.
yeah, we don't see it very much because with the war going on in Ukraine. But no, because I think when the war in Ukraine was starting, there was kind of prospects of that film kind of coming into the States, and then because I think I remember even talking to the manufacturer, emailing them, and they were saying there's logistics and production issues. Of course, this would have been a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think it is a similar base to the FPP, maybe a same film. It's the Kodak Aerial Color 4.
Yeah, so it is a different. So the FPP color is different then. Have a different base.
It,
Is that
it
aerial
look-
film?
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah,
looks
Kodak
more like
makes
a
an
normal
aerial
Kodak.
color film for aerial surveillance video footage, and people are taking that and packaging it. Maybe Flick Film Electra, it's the same thing.
That's like a very clear pinkish look.
Yeah, that one I know for sure is the aerial color 4.
Yeah, that one. It
Santa
looks
is too,
really
right?
interesting.
Santa Film is too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of rebranding going on. Do you guys have any hot takes?
on.
Film.
on film.
What's your film hot takes?
Don't edit your photos.
All right.
What's a good hot take actually?
Wait, I feel like I could come up with one.
And come up with one.
I have
Yeah.
a couple
What does
too
that
that I know
mean?
that are brewing.
Like
a wild
takes
take.
that are highly controversial that would cause argumentation.
Or
Definitely
contradictory to like
Okay.
the main like path of like Portrait 400 sucks and it's horrible for shoots.
Oh, okay.
That'd be like a hot take. You're like, whoa, dude, like that's
That is
crazy.
incredibly hot. But I don't think anybody here agrees with that. So
I don't know.
You have to actually agree with it.
I'm trying to think.
Don't waste your money on Kono films. There's
That's
my
not
hot
hot
Here's
take.
a hot take.
That's just a fact. Actually, here's a hot take. I don't
And
like
Revolog.
any of the Revlogs or
And
Kono
double
films.
film.
And
Actually,
we love selling them, and people sell them and look great. But me personally, I do not like shooting any of them.
I could see. I rescind my statement a little bit. Certain films in the Revolog and in the double film and in the Kono, not all of them, a very small handful that are actually cool or that I actually appreciated.
Who makes the Art 100?
That's Kono.
That is one.
That
film.
one is
I will
nice.
say
I
I
like
do
that
like
one.
that film a lot.
But
the red
there's
pop
like
is really awesome.
so many other ones that I've shot so far that I've just like I
We've-
won't
yeah,
shoot
we've
that
seen
one
a
again,
rise
especially
of-
for $20.
Yeah, we've seen a rise of a lot of Kono double film and maybe other manufacturers
Revolog.
making film with pre-exposed effects or designs or colors. You shot the stereo one,
Oh.
and it was starting like a fade from blue to red or something.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
like
it did not
the
look good.
most intense
It did not look good.
blue to like the most intense red. And then I got like a weird like at the end of the roll it was like green and yellow but less intense. So I don't know where that came from because they don't advertise there being a green and yellow. But I got it somehow.
Yeah, it just looked like badly light leaked film.
It just
bad.
it looks like it's a bad roll film.
I mean, someone may like it, but no,
Maybe.
not for us.
One hot take I do have is I'm not a fan of the Phoenix 35. 120 I like,
Totally agree.
but the 35, and it's maybe just the way it's shot because I've seen rolls that maybe one of us has shot that have looked fine, but I feel like with the contrast and the color, and if you
Yeah.
don't have certain, like, if you don't have the color off on some of the process on some of the scanner, it just looks funky. I just don't like the way it looks. Like, it's too yellow.
Who is it?
Yeah, I don't
John
like it.
Ruby. He had prints that were Phoenix. They were the best Phoenix photos I have
Were they
ever
120
seen.
though?
Yes.
It was 120.
But
I like the 120. The 120 is
they
not
were
bad. The ones
insane.
we
No,
shot look
better than
great.
the ones we shot.
I think
No offense.
they made improvements from the 35 to the 120.
Yeah.
I think there
Yeah.
were
I
some
think they
improvements
definitely did.
made.
Yeah, every
base
time
looked
I
better, I
see
think.
it, every time
It
I'm
just
like, it says Phoenix on the little paper that we have. I'm like,
you can definitely spot the
just-
negative too hanging
yeah.
up.
It's
mean,
unique.
purple.
It's definitely a unique film. If you want to shoot a unique film,
It's
shoot it. But
unique.
I've just found that you can tend to lose a lot of detail in the shadows and even in the highlights
It's-
too. It just really struggles.
It's
Like
just
if you don't
it's
nail
so
your exposure.
contrasty and
I
such
think
different
that
colors.
What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. The exposure latitude. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I mean, if
Is-
the film seems to struggle with very bright scenes and dark subjects in the same scene.
It's
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
similar to shooting slide. Yeah.
Slide.
That's
Yeah.
what I was
I think
thinking.
that's-
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you
'cause then
treat it
when
the
we-
same way as
when
you
we
treat
scan
slide,
it,
that would
we're
actually-
seeing that if we're shooting an image, what's that?
To develop it as slide.
Yeah, you
can.
can develop it as slide, but we tried that, and I think we need to tweak it and do something
We did
different.
not do a good
we didn't
job.
we didn't do a good job. Yeah,
Sorry.
I think,
Cameron.
but yeah, it's funny that this is getting brought up because Harman actually just released a new scanning guide for scanning with the Frontier, the Noritsu, and
Oh.
home scanning. And one thing they're advising now is to scan it as a positive, and then invert your positive in Photoshop, or a really popular plugin nowadays is Negative Lab Pro. It's
Yeah.
a, it's
Oh,
a,
yeah,
it's a
I've heard
conversion
about
program
that.
for
I've seen that.
I think
Lightroom.
I've seen that.
And I literally just got an email from Harman saying like these are the results of a Noritsu Frontier and then the NLP, and it looks more normalized. It loses a lot of that orange
Right.
push to it,
Well, because
which for us we won't do. Not any shade on our customers, but for a volume lab, we run professional scanners. But that Negative Lab Pro seems to handle the conversion very well for that particular film base.
What does it look like just as a positive? It would look like
you would scan it, like for us, we would scan it as slide film.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at it, the image on the computer, you're looking at the
inverted.
yeah.
Yeah,
So then
okay.
you have to take a software that's not the software of the Noritsu or the Fuji and to invert it, and you're getting better, more accurate results, I guess you could say, more true to life results. I kind of like the Phoenix film. I know you guys have the hot take on it, but I like the 120.
Well, I could see too with our scanners, because our scanners do tend to struggle with certain films, and that is a different base. So maybe just it struggles with seeing the base and wants to adjust the.
It's a very different base than what the
Highlights.
scanners were designed for. These scanners were designed
Right.
back in the 90s, 2000s when a purple film base wasn't around.
So maybe having a more neutral, like with a slide, it would look better.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say now. So I've been trying to say it, but now I forgot. Hold on.
It'll oh, hang on.
Uh-oh.
Let's get juiced up.
We should try that though, scanning it as slide and then inverting it.
Oh,
All
Burning
right,
it.
you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
All right,
Here we
thank,
go.
What
Thank
is-
you, Duncan.
what I was going to say is that like I follow the Harman account too.
A Harman account,
on
yeah, their Instagram.
Instagram,
Yeah.
and the photos that they post look so good. I'm not saying that it's like a bad film, but I feel like you have to know how to shoot it,
Yeah.
which I feel like a lot of people don't.
I think treating it like a slide film, and we actually had a customer come in the other day, said that he was reading online that to shoot it at like 125. Don't shoot it, which 125, ironically enough. Don't shoot it at 200, shoot it at 125.
Okay.
So
I'm
maybe
gonna have to
that'd be
do that now.
worth
We'll do
looking
some
into.
testing and get
We
back
need
to
to
you
do.
on what
We
it
need
is.
to do
Phoenix
another
2.0
video.
review
Yep.
with some of the
2.0.
updates. The updating scanning guide, the
Okay.
updated metering,
35, 120. just
So
a bunch of
okay,
stuff.
so hypothetically,
Uh-oh.
could if we started scanning Phoenix as slide and just exported it like that, like would you allow that and then have the customer invert it themselves?
If a customer requests that, then yes. In fact, we have one customer we do that for all the time.
Yeah.
He's actually going to be on our next podcast.
Cameron.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, we have a customer who consistently recommends that or wants that we scan all their color negative without inverting it. So we scan it as slide film, in the scanners. and then he does his own conversions. I don't know if he's using Negative Lab Pro. When he's on the podcast, we'll ask him, or if he's using something else. That'd be,
I also
But he's the only customer that I think that wants that. That's such a niche, such a niche thing. Thanks, Bree.
Never mind. Maybe I will say that for the other podcast. Sorry, I have
He's
more
going to be
questions
here
for him. I'm
next
like,
week. Which
is there a reason he started asking us if we were doing if he didn't like how we were converting them?
I don't think it was
Or
an
is it
issue
just
with
he
our
has a- his
conversions. I think
preference?
he.
He liked
I
the
think-
flexibility, I
And
think.
I'm gonna bring it back to the editing.
It's not
He's
editing.
editing. He's
Yeah,
editing.
I know
yeah.
for sure. Well, he does his
100%.
black and white. He has his black and white scanned as positive, which is
Yeah, he does his
something
own
too.
black
I think
and
he
white
just likes the
inversions.
flexibility of being able to do it himself.
Yeah.
He gets TIFF files,
More control.
Yeah, so they're
which is
big
a very
files.
heavy data file. So, yeah. And he's a professional photographer
Yeah.
working in the studio all the time. So that's definitely within kind of that framework,
Right.
for him doing. Yeah. Okay, folks, concluding thoughts on the how to choose the right film stock. What do we have for our fine listeners?
Experiment a little bit.
Follow your heart.
Choose based off what you're shooting. Okay, don't
Yeah.
follow your heart. Choose based off what you're shooting and
But-
your subjects.
Bree says follow your heart, but I'm going to shoot a 400 speed film.
Yeah.
I would still say to experiment a little bit. Maybe not when you start shooting film, but when you get into it a little bit, because you may find a film that you've seen other people shoot you may not like, but then once you shoot it, you may like it. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, because you've been experimenting with a lot of film stocks this year. To be continued. Bree, what's your advice?
Follow your heart.
What does that mean?
Shoot whatever
Disney
you
Whatever you
girl.
want to do.
Shoot whatever you want. Whatever fits your budget. Whatever
That's
you
facts.
like.
Live your dreams, kids.
Live your
Oh,
dreams.
man. That's how we're ending this podcast.
Yes, it's so adorable.
Very demure.
Give us some
Live
reality.
your dream.
You just said that.
That's
Yeah,
not
did you
adorable.
not?
It's just a thing. We're gonna end this podcast with shoot smart.
Shoot smarter.
Know
not
what you're
harder.
shooting. Know what you're shooting. Oh. Know what you're shooting. What we're gonna say is know what you're shooting. Know how to shoot it. Know how to shoot your film. Know what you're shooting. And that's where we're gonna end it, people. Happy RFL.
Okay, folks, thanks for tuning in to the podcast of how to shoot the right film. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.